Hey guys, looking for new games similar to Baldur's Gate 3? Then you've come to the right place. We've already started the list with Solasta 2, the highly anticipated sequel to the acclaimed tactical RPG Solasta, Crown of the Magister, developed by Tactical Adventures. The game promises to take players to a new continent full of dangers and mysteries, where they will need to face challenges and make decisions that will shape the fate of their adventures. The game takes place on the continent of Neokos, a vibrant fantasy realm with stunning landscapes, but on the verge of ruin due to the corruption spread by Shadwin, a charismatic villain voiced by Amelia Tyler, narrator of Baldur's Gate 3 and Hades 2. The interface has been redesigned, switching between isometric view and a camera close to the character, inspired by Baldur's Gate 3. Just like the Larian Studio game, Solasta 2 uses the D20 system of Dungeons & Dragons, where actions like attacks, spells, and abilities depend on dice rolls. Combat is compared to XCOM 2 for its tactical structure, with turns defined by character attributes.
And I won't need to be there to face the unknown. But tonight I've been blinded by the dark. Without fear, I will read.
The Way of Wrath is a turn-based tactical RPG with a strong emphasis on narrative developed by Animal, an independent studio from Georgia. The game has been in development for a few years, and although it doesn't yet have a confirmed release date for 2025, it has generated excitement among RPG fans for its unique approach and similarities to titles like Baldur's Gate 3. Similar to BG3, combat is tactical and strategic, requiring careful positioning, use of the environment, and planning. Each character has unique abilities that can be combined to create synergies. Like BG3, The Way of Wrath places great emphasis on player choices, which shape the story, relationships, and the fate of the world. In Baldur's Gate 3, your decisions affect the fate of Faerun and your companions, while in The Way of Wrath, they determine the success of your leadership and the survival of your people. Prelude Dark Pain is a turn-based tactical RPG set in a dark fantasy world, developed by Quickfire Games, a Spanish developer. The game takes place in the fictional world of Statera, a land ravaged by a plague called Dark Pain. The Order of the Grey Crusade rules with terror, worshipping the Lord of Pain, while creatures of chaos invade reality through tears in the veil that separates dimensions. Prelude Dark Pain includes world missions that expand the lore and offer rewards, similar to the side quests of BG3, which deepen the story and world of Forgotten Realms. Prelude Dark Pain is a promising tactical RPG that shares with Baldur's Gate 3 a focus on turn-based combat, dark fantasy narrative, and party management. Both appeal to fans of strategic RPGs and offer choices that impact the story. Esoteric Ebb is a single-player isometric RPG that promises a unique experience, combining elements of tabletop games with a deep and branching narrative inspired by titles like Disco Elysium and Baldur's Gate 3. The game takes place in a post-arcane punk fantasy world, where mythical creatures sell newspapers and ideologies dominate the daydreams of dead gods. The story of Esoteric Ebb unfolds in Norvik, a city on the verge of its first election. The player takes on the role of a cleric, a government official who becomes the protagonist of an intriguing mystery, the explosion of a tea shop in the heart of the city. Without official support, the player needs to investigate the explosion, navigating a web of political intrigue and unraveling the city's secrets. Bloodsword is a 2D tactical RPG being developed by Prime Games with a planned release for the Steam platform. The game is inspired by the Bloodsword series of gamebooks, set in the fantasy world of Legend, created by the authors for their projects, including the tabletop RPG Dragon Warriors. The Legend universe is a fictional version of Earth around the end of the 10th century, with historical and mythological parallels, such as Christian, Greek, Roman, Norse, and Arabic elements. The world is described as a dark fantasy setting, heavily inspired by classic RPG games and the style of Dungeons & Dragons. The atmosphere is dense, with elements of horror, magic, and political intrigue. As in the books, the focus is on gathering the blood sword to face supernatural threats, such as undead cultists and demonic entities. The narrative promises choices that impact the fate of the characters, including the possibility of permanent deaths and alternate endings. Frosthaven is a dark fantasy tactical RPG set in a small outpost north of the capital White Oak, in a frozen and hostile environment. Players take on the role of mercenaries working to rebuild and protect this settlement from threats such as the harsh climate, invasions of creatures like the Algox, Yeti-like beings, North Sea stalkers, and rumors of autonomous machines in the frozen wastelands. The narrative emphasizes cooperation to face dangers, and possibly forge alliances with new races against even more sinister forces. Players cooperate on missions, 1 to 4 players, with the strength of enemies scaling based on the average level of the group. Combat is turn-based, with a hexagonal grid, hand management, and unique abilities per character. Hexxen Hunters is a turn-based tactical RPG developed by Ulysses Spiele Digital and published by Hooded Horse, with a planned release in 2025. The game is inspired by the German tabletop game Hexxen 1733 and combines elements of Darkest Dungeon, XCOM, and Baldur's Gate 3, offering a dark fantasy experience set in an alternate version of 18th century Europe, specifically in 1733, marked by witch hunts, wars, and political intrigue. You lead a group of witch hunters, humanity's last hope against imminent destruction. Your mission begins by freeing a remote village from the clutches of an evil cult, establishing your base of operations there. The game is compared to BG3 for its rich narrative and impactful choices. Many say that Hexxen Hunters is making a Baldur's Gate 3 in German D&D. New Arcline is a turn-based, single-player tactical RPG developed by Dream8 Games, a Ukrainian studio, and published by Fulcrum Publishing. With a setting that blends steampunk, fantasy, and dieselpunk elements, the game takes place in the fictional city of New Ark, a center of technological progress and arcane magic in a world inspired by the golden age of the early 20th century. The player can align themselves with arcane magic, represented by elves, dwarves, and monsters, or with the technological revolution, steampunk, dieselpunk, and Teslapunk. Your choices affect the balance between these elements in the world. The city faces exploitation of the poor by the rich, prejudice against non-human races, and the replacement of workers by automatons, creating a scenario of social revolt. Combat is turn-based tactical, inspired by Baldur's Gate 3 and Divinity. Players control a group using abilities, spells, items, and strategies to overcome challenges.
The choice is yours.
Pathfinder the Dragon's Demand is an upcoming CRPG based on the universe of the Pathfinder role-playing game, developed by Ossian Studios in partnership with Paizo Publishing. The story is based on the tabletop adventure of the same name, written by Mike Schell, but has been expanded for the digital format. The game takes place in the fantasy world of Golarion, specifically in the city of Belheim, located in the region of Taldor, near the swamp known as Dragonfen. One of the highlights of the game is the use of 3D digital miniatures that simulate the experience of a tabletop game. The miniatures change visually based on equipment. For example, changing armor updates the miniature's appearance. The scenarios are designed as RPG boards, with visual and audio effects that enhance immersion, including an original soundtrack and professional voice acting. Clair Obscur, Expedition 33, is a turn-based RPG set to release on April 24, 2025, available for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC. Developed by Sandfall Interactive and published by Kepler Interactive, the game stands out for its impressive visuals created with Unreal Engine 5 and a combat mechanic that combines turn-based elements with real-time action. Every year, a mysterious being known as the Paintress paints a number on a monolith. All people of that age disintegrate and disappear. Each year, the painted number decreases, resulting in the death of increasingly younger people. The day before the game begins, the Paintress painted the number 33. There is considerable freedom in customizing character builds, with abilities that significantly alter gameplay. Weapons also have their own passive effects and ranks. Well, that was the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and see you next time.
And tomorrow, we sail into the unknown. Even if we fail, we lay the trail for those who come after. We are Expedition 33.